Hey everyone, this is day 3, week 2, and we're continuing our week about, the things we store and the places we store them in. That's how we want to try and define it. So we've done that big cardboard box with, that big, piece of paper just kind of jutting out. We've also worked on more intimate space with our coffee, ¿cómo se dice? Una jarra de café.
Coffee maker? No.
Coffee maker?
No. Ya te digo.
We're struggling because I don't know how to say like a coffee where you make coffee. No sé, una jarra de café, una cafetera.
Coffee maker.
Sí, we're gonna say coffee maker.
Coffee pot.
Coffee pot?
Kettle.
Kettle? No, kettle is para té.
Coffee pot. Coffee maker.
Yeah, we don't know. We're keeping all of this though. So, this, by the way, is so you guys know that this is not my first, language. So, this is how I struggle every single time I have to speak because I'm always thinking about, things in Spanish. So, we did our coffee maker jug thing with salt and pepper and the vinegar and oil kind of crystal mixers things. I don't know. We did that, which was an awesome opportunity to make that little kind of green stripe going down the coffee thing, la cafetera. We're gonna call it la cafetera from now on. So we did that, which is very cool because it actually makes us. I think it's cool that those were the first two pieces because it shows us that our gaze can be directed in very different places, at very different places. And today we're gonna go, even closer. And I'm hoping I can pull off just a little plastic bag that has just a bunch of little, little boxes that have, paper clips and all like stupid stuff that if you're a parent, you'll understand. That those are the things that I have to keep so that when either Samu or Fer have to do homework and they have to do all these like dumb things that the school make them do nowadays, I have my kit of like all these like little materials that we can use to do all these crafts and again just dumb homework. So I have that on a little plastic bag. So again, it's about directing your gaze. And at things that, you would normally just take for granted and say, well, this is part of my life. Yes, but why would it ever be a painting? And the chance that we're going to get, not only this week, but in, every single week, is to realize that the very nature of those things, of course, can be, it can detonate a painting. It can really spark a creative kind of outburst and you can translate all of that into a painting. A painting doesn't have to speak about all these grand things. Like we've grown accustomed to thinking that art is something that's bigger than all of us and that the people that make art are bigger than all of us. They're different than all of us. The bigger personalities, they see more than we do. They sense more than we do. They feel more than we do. And the truth is, that's not true. Painters are exactly the same. They're exactly the same as any other person on this planet. We just have a way of understanding things through paint or trying to explain things to ourselves through paint. That's about it. That's what makes us different. That's all it is. So just try to almost re-educate yourself into thinking that art can occupy spaces that you wouldn't usually think it would. And for me, it's been the most, mundane of places, the most everyday of places. Things that that become so almost invisible because of the almost ritual quality they occupy in our everyday life, that we just take them for granted and we just think that is not worthy of art. The idea is to bring all of that down and to just start speaking or start believing that, yes, every single moment in life is worthy of art. Every single one. So this is a chance to do this this week and every other week, for 50 more weeks after this. So it's an invitation so that you guys just, start really looking at your life and this perfect opportunity, because it's not just like looking and trying to, scavenge something out of your life so you can paint it. No, it's that while you paint it, you have 4 hours, where you have to like fully reflect about what you're looking at. It's not just painting, it's just thinking about the nature of, these objects that you're painting. So that's where a painting actually gives you back, So let's do this. And I know we struggled with the coffee thing, but it's cafetera. From now on, cafetera, I don't care. It's the day of cafetera. Bye. Okay, let's get started. For today, I thought, okay, let's try to kind of find and scavenge something that is in our apartment that speaks about something that is, that is my own, that can speak about a very habitual, like everyday quality, like quotidian quality, and we have this big kind of closet thing in our apartment where we keep our art materials. We keep them outside. We keep them like in a balcony outside, and usually that's where we stick all our paint and our brushes and just everything we use to make art, palette, color pencils, markers, everything we have like outside. And the stuff that started, at the beginning, it was just, both Danny's and my stuff, our materials. And eventually, when my kids started coming here, they it also became the space where if they have homework, then we have to buy all this crap. I'm sorry, but it is crap many times. We have to buy all these materials to help them, make all these crafts. And we started sticking all that stuff out there also. So specifically, these are all like paper clips. It's kind of weird. And I think rubber bands. It's maybe paper clips and rubber bands. And I love the fact that you never care what sort of paperclip or what sort of rubber band, because these little boxes, they all have like brand names. When honestly, as a parent, who cares? Like, they're just rubber bands, and that's all I needed. They're paper clips. I don't care which paper clips. I don't think I've ever gone to like a craft store or a Michael's or a Blick's or anything, and have said, no, I need this brand of paper clips. It's like, no, any paper clip will do. I don't care. It's a box that holds paper clips. That's the most important part. So in a way, it's not like those Brillo boxes that Warhol did that spoke about a very, very specific brand. But I contemplated for a second. I was like, I should put like all the kind of font and just these brands in there, and I should try to paint them. And then I was like, I don't care. I mean, I know it's there, but you really have to question if there is a need, like a real need to paint something just because it's there. I think that one of the biggest weaknesses that a painter that paints from nature has is that there is an unwillingness to question what is in front. So many times we become almost slaves to what is in front of us, to what what nature has in front of us. And I've always believed it's an unequal opportunity to reflect upon the nature of all things. How everything is created and how everything just lives in harmony, and the universe is in every single thing that we see out there. I think that the opportunity to contemplate nature is unparalleled. And if you're working from life, that is amazing. That's nothing can substitute you just sitting outside or inside, just looking at something. It just staring at something and just questioning its nature. Because while you do that, you question your nature, and then you question, your existence and your place here and the reason for the universe being. And it just becomes this act that is so much bigger than ourselves that I think it's extraordinary. It's literally extraordinary. But when us painters that were formally trained by at looking from life, we many times just take everything for granted, and we just say, if it's there, I'll paint it. If it's there, I'll paint it. If it's there, I'll paint it, and that's it. And a lot of the criticism we get many times is that there's no questioning, there's no editing, there's no questioning, there's no reasoning for painting. Just we paint it because it's there, period. And so why did you do that, rose background? Oh, it's because it was there. And I do think that that's something that we painters have to deal with, honestly. And usually what it demands of us is to be a little more active and not just, almost turn our brains off and say, I'm just going to replicate everything that's in front of me and then, translate it into painting. And because it's a painting, it's going to justify itself as a painting. That's about it. No. I really do believe that we have a responsibility to say, well, there has to be a reason for me wanting to paint. In my case, and in this particular painting's case, these brands, all these letters, because in a way these boxes hold like a sense of anonymity for me. They matter in the sense that they hold the things that I know my kids will need at certain points, during their school year, but they don't really matter. So how do we paint that? How do we speak about that? And while I was doing this, I was almost reminded of Giorgio Morandi, and his bottles, his grayed out bottles. He painted everything whitish gray to do the same, to eliminate gloss, to eliminate anything that could give those bottles a sense of belonging, of meaning, of a past history. In a way, he edited it out, and while I'm not doing the same thing, but I wanted to see if I just if I could speak about their nature as boxes, but that's about it. I didn't want to make them any more personable or any more specific than that. They were these two planes of this three-dimensional object that is all wrapped into this plastic bag, this little Ziploc bag. And I liked it. As soon as I realized that it was not a cop-out. It's not me saying, oh, God, I don't want to paint, these letters. Letters are, the same. It's just smaller shapes of paint. That's all they are. That have very specific drawing, but that's about it. You just have to be a little careful when you're doing lettering. But I've done it with other paintings, and, it's the same. It's the exact same thing as painting anything else. But when I consciously decided that it was probably best to just leave it very, very open, and just concentrate on that break of, this is a light plane, this is a shadow plane, and how they're just they're offset. They're not centered. They are of different, shapes. They even have different weights. They're even deformed in different ways because of the objects that they hold. I wanted to speak about that quality instead of making it about the actual product. It's not a product. It doesn't matter. It's this thing that I have to keep, and I literally have to keep it handy because there are these objects that mean nothing. Like, a paperclip it's this thing that it's almost ubiquitous, and you feel that it's always there. Like you are going to have paper clips in your house or a rubber band, it's like, how can we not have rubber bands in our house? Like, of course, there's going to be somewhere a box that has some rubber bands. And the truth is, you never find them. They're never there. And I thought, well, yeah, I wanna have that nature, and I want to see if I could pair that simplicity with the description of the plastic bag. I want to see if I can say plastic bag, but say it as, I mean, not as simply as I can. I still wanted to get that feeling of this being plastic. It's almost plastic, that it's still holding some air in there, because I do want to feel like it is embracing almost all these little boxes. I mean, they all live inside this kind of bubble, this plastic bag. So I did want it to feel different enough from the cardboard quality of the little boxes. I don't want this to become like, and I always say this, like clickbaity, in the sense that I don't want to say cardboard, like I'm going to paint cardboard today, cardboard boxes, just so people think, oh God, oh, he's going to give us tips on how to paint cardboard. I don't know how to paint cardboard. All I know is that if I look at cardboard and I look close enough, then I'll be able to start to understand how to paint cardboard under a very specific light. That's about it. But what I'm trying to do, and what I'm hoping to do with the paintings that we're doing every day, is that this is not an opportunity to make formulas out of paintings, to just say, based on this experience, then we have now acquired the ability to paint this material or this animal or this, female portrait. Or no, I don't know. I've never seen, or I've never understood painting that way. And I've never understood learning that way, if I have to be completely honest. I've always understood painting as an opportunity, but as an opportunity that is highly, highly particular to that moment. I almost feel that paintings belong to a moment of time and place. And to try and extrapolate that time and place and to create a formula is almost lessening the value of that moment where you paint it for, however, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 10 hours. If you try to make something bigger out of that, then in a way, and I know that, of course you can teach yourself how to paint light and the physical qualities, the scientific qualities of light, and you can have a bigger understanding of how light works. And maybe you do concept work, and maybe your job demands that you understand these qualities. And maybe in your job in video games, there are people that have to look at cardboard and have to say, oh, I'm actually making a texture that has to feel and look like cardboard, so I have to try and understand what makes cardboard look like cardboard, like how light bounces off of cardboard, and what that surface texture looks like and feels like. I know there's tons of people that have that job, but I'm always wary of trying to learn way too many rules of how to make things, because if we start learning a ton of recipes, which may be super efficient, they can be guaranteed ways of making something look nice and pretty, and you can communicate what you want it to communicate. But I feel that if we flood our heads with so much information, albeit great information, we stop observing. And if there is one quality that I believe human beings are amazing at, it's observation. I mean, just think about us as a species and how much we learn from looking at the sky, from looking at the stars. I mean, it takes us centuries, but look at how much we've learned about nature just by looking at it. So I, in a way, I feel that if this is all brought to us, and if we are all taught how to make things, and so if I made a demo on how to paint a plastic bag, and I'm speaking about, how light behaves when hitting plastic. And we make like the 5 rules of what not to do when painting, plastic, or I don't know. I think we're selling ourselves short. We have to trust what is there. Again, we have to question it, but we have to look. We should never sacrifice looking at nature, even if it means that we're putting aside all these fantastic rules that teach us how to do things effectively. Just that sense of wonder that you have when you are completely ignorant about something and you are discovering it for yourself, even though for other people it's like, well, that was super basic. But just the fact that you are having that experience and you are in a way teaching it to yourself is amazing. That has unprecedented value in art, because an artist can learn how to see things in ways that people didn't intend. Like everyone else is looking at an object in a certain way because that's how we were taught, and it could be the most mundane way of looking at it, while because of the foreign quality of whatever that object is, because a specific artist can find just a strange quality in this thing that was common to everyone else, that means that she or he has so much gained, because now it's this almost magical object presenting itself like right in front of us, and we have the opportunity to just in a way experience it and see it for the first time. I mean, everyone else is just bored out of their minds just looking at this thing, this very samey thing that they know what to expect. But for us artists, we can just stare at something in bewilderment. And I don't know how to sell that feeling, but I know that I've felt it looking at nature, and there's nothing quite like it. Nothing. And I remember my dad specifically used to make fun of me just being in awe of the dumbest things, because my dad would equate life experiences with collecting manners in which how things work. So growing up meant that you know how to do things. And if you don't know how to do things, or if you don't know something about an object or an act or whatever bit of information that presents itself to you, if you didn't know about it, it would mean you're ignorant. And I don't know why ignorance is castigated in the art world. Ignorance is treated so badly. In terms of language, when you see how a great work of art is described, it's usually solid and mature. And there's always a feeling that the artist is in, I don't know if complete control of what they're doing, but it's understanding like every single variable that is kind of stemming out of the problematic that they're dealing with. But if you're ignorant about something, it's never good. It's immaturity. It conveys a sense of you not being ready to deal with a certain problem, with certain dynamics that are natural to your work of art. But I feel that many times just not knowing also opens up so many doors, so many doors to just seeing things afresh. And in a way, I think I paint in that manner. I think that when I paint something, it's almost like my brain resets, and I am looking at whatever it is that I'm looking at for the first time in my life. And I'm just amazed by every single quality that it has. So let's say that today I'm painting this plastic bag, and if I were to paint one tomorrow, I don't know how much of the experience that I had today I would bring to tomorrow, because the plastic bag could present itself in a way that is completely different from the one that it's presenting itself to me today. So I'm always willing to just say, this is something that I learned, but it's something that I have to quickly unlearn if I want to keep this sense of this wide-eyed vision of the universe. And I know that that's something so abstract and that's a tough sell, because you are going to learn, you are going to have experiences. Your new experiences are going to be based on past experiences. But again, if I could promote something in painting, is yes, we do need knowledge when we paint. The more we know, I'm sure it's the more useful information you've gathered throughout the years, with all the experiences you've had painting, the more comfortable you're going to be when you tackle a painting. But I always tell this to people, and it is my own experiences, and many people don't agree with it, and I'm totally fine. But if I could pick either knowledge or observation, I would always pick observation. I would much rather be a keen observer than somebody who has a vast knowledge of its subject matter, of whatever you're painting. I just trust observation. Again, observation followed by questioning, because I don't think we should just blindly observe and that's it. But observation that spurs questioning. I think that's bliss for a painter. Just going into a place and never having seen, what the vegetation looks like, and just seeing it for the first time and just describing it as dangerous or jagged, and then translating those feelings, those qualities into painting, into drawing, into composition. I feel that that is our job almost. That's our job. That's almost like what represents us as human beings, but it's a quality of our sensibility that can be translated beautifully, in this case into painting. I was trying for as much as I could to hold on to the simple qualities of this bag. I don't want the plastic bag to be reliant upon the highlights. I think that when I rationalize how to paint plastic, I'm always thinking, it's going to have all these like little highlights, and it's going to, those bits of highlights are going to speak about how this bag deforms or conforms to the objects that it's holding. And that's how I think about it. But for the longest time during the painting, probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I wanted to keep big planes, big color choices, because to me a painting, and this has been true for years now, a painting is not, for me again, is not the ability that I have to manipulate paint so I can speak about the qualities inherent to every single material that I'm painting. To me, everything is paint. Everything in my painting comes exactly from the same place. It's just paint. And I'm not trying to do a very strange brushstroke so I can speak about softness, or yes, I'm dealing with edges in that sense, but what I'm most interested in is trying to speak, yes, about the nature of all those objects, but always through the same simple exercise of just putting one color right next to the other one. That's about it. It's just a single, decision of color right next to another one, and that's all I need. And I find it fascinating. And again, to me, this is almost like existential. That in this same process, in this same act of just looking at your palette and looking at the relationships in your palette, you can paint cardboard, or you can paint plastic, or you can paint this roll of paper that's in the background. It doesn't matter. The formal quality of your subject matter, in my mind, it doesn't matter, because it comes from the same thing. The origin is exactly the same, which is your palette, and it's these pigments. And it only differs in the sense that you are creating very specific relationships in your palette and placing them down. But that's about it. Painting becomes this very simple act of saying, this is one bit of color right next to another bit of color. And if I do my job well, and this is the big if I do my job appropriately, it then configures plastic, or it then configures those little shapes of color, these little abstractions of color. They configure cardboard, or they configure plastic, or they configure atmosphere. I actually love that, because essentially there are no tricks in here. It's just the painting has to, in a way, survive just clinging to its barest, foundation, which is just color right next to another bit of color. And that's it. That's all it is. You don't need to do anything else. If you do that right, then you can speak about absolutely anything. You don't have to, and I always joke about this, but when people say, no, but it's, you do have to learn about what you're painting to be able to fully comprehend, what it is that you're looking at. But I always tell people, so if you want to paint animals, do you have to learn like comparative anatomy of every single animal you're going to paint? If an animal shows up that you've never seen before, would you be able to paint him? It? She? Would you be able to assess their form and understand the way they walk or the way they travel, or would you be able to do so? And my short answer is always yes, if you observe. Yes, you just need to observe, and maybe it's observe for longer than the time that you spent on painting. All you need to do is just look. And the beauty of these exercises that we're doing is that we can hone our vision into whichever space we want. And I had, in a way, firstly spoken about places that were either past experiences or foreign experiences, like the one I spoke about yesterday. But I can also choose to speak about something that's minute and is irrelevant in a way. So I wanted to have that kind of ambiguous feeling of this nothing, of painting nothingness, painting boxes that mean nothing. But the moment, the place where these little boxes exist was absolutely fascinating to me while I was painting them. And again, these are reflections that only come from just staring at something for so long, staring at something that means nothing. So I invite you to uncover some of these places in your own lives, and show me the objects that means a ton to you, and show me the objects that have accompanied you, your whole life, and apparently hold no meaning, because there's so many of those objects in our lives. That's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.